Are you comfortable compromising who you are? Of course you're not. So why do we do it? Why do we actually compromise on who we are? Why do we comply to others? Why do we conform to the way that others want us to be? That's what I want to chat with you today. When we're standing in who we really are, fulfilling on our purpose, being the person that we are truly meant to be, we are able to serve everywhere that we are being called to serve. You've heard me say that a lot over the course of these videos. But one of the interesting things that I always wondered about is, one, why do we fall prey to distractions? And two, why do we continually find ourselves, or why do we continually as people put ourselves, or even as businesses, as families, as communities and countries, why do we try to be someone that we're not? And then we end up getting caught in this identity crisis where, we've created this identity for ourselves, but we find ourselves in this place where we've had to compromise. So let's dig into that. There are three key things that we've noted over the years that actually contribute to this. And one of the first things is that we have all believed this crazy lie. So recently I was listening to an interview, and the person said that we're actually built for comfort, but we need to get out of our comfort zone. And I realized that that is just pervasive in our society, in our world. We are constantly told that we need to get out of our comfort zone. But if we're built for comfort, if we enjoy comfort, then why do we need to get out of it? So as I unpack that, and as we unpack that, my wife and I, what we realized is that we have things backwards. We have defined comfort zone wrongly. So I want to, first of all, just share with you what comfort zone actually is and how that actually fits into play in terms of fulfilling your purpose and serving everywhere that you're being called to serve and actually being who you are. Okay, so your comfort zone is where you are most comfortable. It is the zone in which you can be truly you, surrounded by those who truly love you, truly respect you, truly value you, who really actually at the end of the day want your help. And it's that place where you're actually called in to serve, where you can just be you. Everywhere else that you are not allowed to be you, or that you're being asked to not be you, and there's this friction, those are simply distractions because the person doesn't need or want your help. Okay, so that's the first thing, that comfort zone is not a place where we are actually complacent, where we conform, and where we compromise. The comfort zone is actually where you are most comfortable. And in that place, you would never become complacent. You'll never give up who you are. You'll never conform to what somebody else wants you to be. And you'll never compromise on who you are. So that's the first thing. Just let's redefine what your comfort zone is and get rid of, the misconception that's in our world that, if you're in your comfort zone, you're lazy, because that's not true at all. In fact, when you are standing in your comfort zone, we are meant to be comfortable. So when you're standing in your comfort zone, that is actually the place where the work is the hardest, because that's where you're going to be called to serve. And that's going to require all of who you are in order to fulfill in the purpose where you're being asked to serve in the life of another, to actually meet the specific need that you're here to meet in their life. So I want to dig into that. But first, I want to make sure that we're clear on this, that when the world says you have to get out of your comfort zone, because that's the place where you are going to be complacent, you're going to conform, and you're going to compromise, it's true that we do get ourselves in places where we compromise, where we conform to what others want us to be, and we become complacent because we've given up on an integral thing in our lives. We've given up on the very thing that motivates us to move into the world and start to serve. But that is not your comfort zone. That's your uncomfortable zone. And here's how we know that. Because the world says you have to be uncomfortable to get ahead, to get success, to get things done in your life. But that's not true. The truth is you have to be comfortable. That's not lazy. Comfortable is not lazy. So let's separate those two and understand that uncomfortable and compromise and complacency and conformity, That's laziness, because the longer you stay in those places, the lazier you get, the more lazy you get in terms of fulfilling your purpose. You could accomplish great things, good things, but that doesn't mean you're accomplishing the right things. The right things happen in your comfort zone because that's where you are most comfortable and others are most comfortable with you because you're being authentic, you're being who you truly are. So I want to nail this point with this question. Are you actually comfortable complying, becoming complacent, conforming to what others want you to be, and ultimately compromising who you are? No, of course you're not. So why do we do it? We do it because we've believed the lie that we have to get out of our comfort zone. It's that simple. So let's dig into this. In order to actually be who you truly are and remain in that comfort zone, there's three things that you have to be aware of and know. First is you have to know why you're here, because who you are is because of why you're here. Who you are is because of why you're here. So you have to be clear on why you're here. Then you have to know where your biggest opportunities are to serve. So I want to talk about that. And then lastly, you actually need to know where you're being called to serve. Okay, so clarify your purpose, understand where your opportunities are, and where are you being actually called to serve, and who are you being called to serve? All right, so let's start with number one, clarifying your purpose. So as you've heard me talk about before, there's other videos that we go deep into this, but I want to give a brief overview of this. So first of all, there is one need that you are here to meet in the lives of others, and that goes for you as a person, that goes for you as a family, as a company, as a community, and we as countries. There is a specific need that we are here to meet that shows up in many different ways. So the lie in that is that we've all been taught. So here's the second lie, is that we have to meet many needs that show up in many different ways. But the truth is you're here to meet one need that shows up in many different ways. So the key is to really understand, well, what is that need? So here's how you get to this. Basically, really simple exercise. You're going to answer this question. What need do you recognize in others? And you want to answer that in one word. What need do you recognize in others in a word? You can do this for yourself. You can do this for your family. You can do this for your company, your country, and we can do this for our countries. What need do we recognize in others? And get it down to one specific need in one specific word. So it's things like purpose and vision and wisdom and understanding and joy and compassion, things like that. As you work through that exercise, you're going to realize what happens is that, all these words are going to come. So just write them down. Don't edit. Write them down until you hit on the one word. If a phrase comes, just sum up that phrase. So, here's an example. I see a need for purpose everywhere I look, everywhere I go. I could say, people need a clear sense of purpose. Well, clear sense of purpose would be a phrase, so I can bring that down to the word purpose. So you want to keep digging until you find that one word that sums up the need that you see in everyone that you interact with, everyone that you know of, and everyone that you're aware of in the world. Okay, that's the first step. And then you want to answer this question, well, what do I bring to answer that need in a word? What do I bring to answer that need in a word? So here's a few examples. I see a need for purpose. I recognize that need in everyone that I have ever interact with. I'm sure if we were standing face to face, I'd see that need in you because you're listening to this video. So obviously you need purpose to some degree and you're unclear on what your purpose actually is, or you wouldn't even be listening to me right now. What I bring to that is revelation. The questions I've asked, the wisdom that I share, the wisdom that we share is all to bring revelation, to help you have that aha moment, get that clarity that you need. Here's another example. My wife, who you will definitely meet on this channel as we go forward. She sees a need for joy and she brings protection to help answer that need for joy. So you want to look for things like that. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to bring this down. And again, we have videos that go through this. We have the servant community that'll walk you through all this. All our frameworks are there. So you can check that out at servant.tools to go deep into this and really confirm your answers on these questions that I'm sharing with you today. So the third question is you want to ask yourself, well, so why are you here? And you want to use those two words, the need and the answer that you bring, to help you formulate a 3 to 7 word statement that really clarifies why you're here. If you need some help, please reach out. We are definitely happy to help you with that. The next thing is opportunities. So here's the key definition of what an opportunity is. An opportunity is everywhere that you are both needed and wanted. So there's people in your life that need you, but they don't want you. And there's people in your life that want you, but for whatever reason, they don't feel that they need you at this particular moment. Those are not opportunities. Those are actually distractions. If you step in, you are going to have to compromise on who you are. You're going to have to conform to who they need you to be in that moment. And you're going to have to be, eventually, you're ultimately going to become complacent because you're just going to give up on who you are. And that's where relationships start to fall apart, is when we become complacent because we're complying, we're conforming, and we're compromising on who we actually are. And we're trying to be someone that we're not just to make somebody else comfortable. So you see how that works? As we step out of our opportunities and out of actually fulfilling our purpose, we begin to compromise and we end up being discredited. We end up being powerless. And we end up losing those key relationships simply because we have become complacent, we have conformed, and we have compromised. That's on us. Others will ask us to do that so they can be more comfortable, or they can work an agenda that they want done in their life or in their business, in their community, or their country. But the key is we need to know, first of all, why we're here and ultimately who we are so that we can stand in that all the time and not give up ground there and not move out of position to become uncomfortable just for someone else to be comfortable. The goal is both people coming together completely comfortable in who they are, because then amazing things can happen. Amazing things can happen. And I know that you've experienced that, where you have come to a situation, you've been able to be completely who you are, and the other person has been completely who they are, and amazing things happen. Those are amazing relationships. And I pray that all of us, and specifically you, are able to have more and more of those kinds of relationships, because it's absolutely magical. It's absolutely miraculous when we can live more and more of our life in that and actually have the blessing of being able to stand in our comfort zone. Okay? So a distraction now is simply other people's opportunities. A distraction is simply just someone else's opportunity that we are trying to get in on, that we are trying to step in on. And as you know, that would be stealing. We're actually stealing somebody else's opportunity. So that's never going to end well. And we're ultimately going to have to compromise on who we are in order to try to be that other person, because it's not actually our opportunity. Lastly, there is a place that all of us are being called to go. There is a place and places where we are being called to serve. And what that takes is, first of all, understanding, okay, who you are and who you are actually being called to serve. So that's everyone that has that need and wants your help with that need. Then you need to assess, okay, so where do they actually have this need? And do they want my help with that? Those are key. Who has the need? Where do they have that need? Do they want my help with that? And ultimately, do I have what it takes in my hands or available to me to actually help them answer that need? That's where you're being called. If you step in anywhere else. So here's an example. So yeah, I see that you have the need. You want my help to help you fulfill your purpose. Can I actually help you? Yes, I actually can help you. But maybe where you actually have that need is not, or you're not ready to go there yet. I can't step in there. I'm not, even though maybe in the future I'll be able to help. I can't help, and you can't help until that person actually acknowledges they have the need, that they want your help, and that they are willing to do and receive the way that you can help them. That makes sense, right? So as you move through this, if you're unclear on why you're here, you have no idea where you're meant to be, and you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing while you're there, you're definitely going to be in a place where you are at risk of compromising who you are. And what you need to do is move out of that, because that is a very uncomfortable place for you and for somebody else. No one wants to be in a place seeking help from a person that can't actually help them. Or on the flip side, no one wants to step into help where their help isn't actually wanted or needed. That's a very uncomfortable place. That is not our comfort zone. We don't grow in those places. We actually diminish. Where we grow is in our comfort zone. in those places where we're not complying, where we're not conforming, and where we're not compromising on who we are. All right. That's what I wanted to share with you. That comfort zone is actually an incredible tool for you, and you need to be able to stand in that. And in order to be able to stand in that, you need to know why you're here, where you're meant to be, and actually what you're supposed to be doing while you're there. If you want some help, as I shared, check out servant.tools. We're here to help you with all the frameworks that we provide online. And we can do private master classes. We do private workshops. Just give us a shout. We're here to help you. All right. So remember this, the next time you step into a situation and you're feeling uncomfortable, are you okay with being uncomfortable? Are you okay with compromising who you are? Because that's why you're uncomfortable. And I'm going to encourage you that the answer is no, that you're not okay with that. And that's okay. Just acknowledge that, step out, and look for those places where you can actually be comfortable, where you can be yourself and step in full with all of you to serve in those areas to fulfill your purpose. All right. We'll see you next time.